My master called me from Een Mountain, telling me to come down from the mountain immediately. He said it was time to make good on the arranged marriage to a man I'd never even met. The other party was the Pei clan, a family that had built its fortune over the last 100 years on funerary feng shui. The current head of the family was fabulously wealthy and said to be blessed with godlike looks. Because the family had a reputation for being incredibly strict, my master was afraid I'd be looked down upon. So he gifted me the deliverance carving knife that he never parts with. I arrived at the ghost market at the appointed time to exchange the betrothal gifts. I was just about to retrieve the century-old shadow wood I had already reserved when a hand, adorned with a blood jade bracelet, firmly pressed down on the wood. The woman lifted her exquisitely made-up face, her eyes raking over me with disdain. Where did this country bumpkin come from? Don't you even understand first come, first served? Looking so shabby, you think you're worthy of touching this wood? I looked at her, my expression blank. I put a deposit on this 3 days ago. According to the rules of the ghost market, the highest bidder wins, but a deposit comes first. You're the one who doesn't understand the rules. The woman was stunned silent by my words, but then she let out a cold laugh. Rules? Let me tell you, in this city, even the wandering ghosts have to make way for the Pei family. Who the hell do you think you are? I was silent for a moment, then pulled my phone from my pocket, found the number I had saved under a stranger's name, and dialed it right in front of her. Hello. I hear that in your city, even the ghosts are afraid of the Pei family. Is that true? I asked the question lightly, without a hint of emotion. If my master hadn't told me to keep things civil at all costs before I left, I wouldn't have even bothered to dial this number. This piece of shadow wood was meant to reconstruct my Grand Master's spiritual form. A delay was not something money could fix. If this future family-in-law had any sense, I could pretend today's incident never happened. The line was quiet for a few seconds. I'm busy. If you have something to say it quick. The man's voice that came through the receiver was laced with ice and extreme impatience. Mr. Pei, I suggest you come down to the ghost market in person, or else. Before I could finish, he had already hung up. The dial tone buzzed, leaving me stunned. Are all rich people like this these days? He had such a short fuse, flipping out just like that. Seeing this, the woman who was trying to steal my wood burst into laughter, the fine lines around her eyes caking with makeup. I thought you were some big shot, but it turns out you're just putting on a front. Now get lost. Mr. Pei wants this piece of wood. If you keep pestering us, you might not make it out of this city alive. She took one look at my simple cloth clothes and my young age and completely dismissed me. Ma'am, can't you be reasonable? You're the one stealing my property. I haven't even called you out on it, and now you're threatening me? I pointed a finger at the soul-guiding lantern hanging at the entrance of the ghost market. The ghost market has its own rules, and they apply to both the living and the dead. If you keep causing trouble and alert the proprietor, here, you won't be able to handle the consequences. Hearing this, the woman laughed even more wildly. The proprietor? You little brat. Who are you trying to scare with a broken old lantern? Let me tell you, my brother is the biggest rule in this city. The more she spoke, the more smug she became. The cloying scent of her perfume mixed with the dark energy of the blood jade was giving me a headache. I clenched my fists, my eyes turning cold. The blood jade you're wearing has too much dark energy. It's already starting to backfire on you. If you don't take it off soon, you're in for some serious bad luck. The moment I finished speaking, the woman shoved me hard. You little bitch, are you cursing me? I think you're the one tired of living. Get the hell out of here. I've spent all these years training on Een Mountain, and have had very little contact with people from the outside world. I had no idea how to communicate with this kind of shrew. Seeing how arrogant she was, a fire ignited within me. You're clearly the one stealing my things, yet you turn around and blame me. Has all that dark energy rotted your brain? As soon as I said this, a few of the people in the crowd who were watching the show let out quiet snickers. Well, now this young lady's got guts. She dares to curse out Paige Pei, the darling of the Pei family. Isn't she afraid of getting her bones broken? Who would dare to snatch something Mississippi Pei has her eye on? But this girl actually did it. Just her bad luck, I guess. Of all the people to provoke, she had to pick Paige. She's Mr. Pei's most beloved sister. As the surrounding chatter grew, Paige's face turned beet red, and she became even more arrogant. You little bitch, you dare to curse at me? I think you're looking to die. I completely ignored her threats, and I almost wanted to laugh. Mississippi Pei, was it? I'd advise you to clean up your language. If you really piss me off, not even your big shot brother will be able to protect you. Bullshit. After cursing, she still wasn't satisfied. She rolled up her sleeves and swung her hand toward my face. What? When people from your city can't win an argument, you resort to violence. Paige's hand swung at me, carrying a gust of dark wind, but it didn't even touch the corner of my clothes. You little bitch, you dare to dodge? Believe it or not, I'll call my brother right now and have you disappear without a trace. Faced with her repeated provocations, I didn't fight back, I just kept dodging. It wasn't that I was afraid of her, but my master had repeatedly warned me. Your words and actions represent the honor of Een Mountain. When you go out, you must not fight with worldly people unless it is absolutely necessary. Besides, I don't attack casually. When I do, it's never just a minor flesh wound. Seeing that I wasn't saying anything, Paige thought I was scared and charged at me again, fists clenched. Just at that critical moment, a cold voice came from not far away. Stop. Paige, you are a member of the Pei family. How can you get into a fight in a place like the Ghost Market? A man, surrounded by a group of bodyguards in black, walked quickly toward us. I sized up the man before me, and I had to admit, my old master had a sharp eye. He was tall with long legs, dressed in a custom-tailored black suit that accentuated his broad shoulders and narrow waist. His face was flawless, but the look he gave me was as cold as ice in the dead of winter. He had to be Ethan Pei. You must be that girl my master mentioned, Iris? He asked, his tone full of scrutiny and contempt. Mr. Pei, it's a pleasure to meet. No need. Before I could finish, Ethan impatiently raised a hand to cut me off. We are not on the same level. Go back to wherever you came from. I almost couldn't believe my ears. I had traveled for 3 days and 3 nights straight from Een Mountain, without even a moment to sit down for a drink of water. The moment we meet, without a second word, he tells me to get lost? Was he just toying with me? At that thought, my temper flared up. You must be the one my master arranged for me to marry. Ethan Pei, right? You don't even know who I am and you're already telling me to go back. That's not very proper, is it? Hearing my words, Ethan's face instantly darkened, and a sarcastic smile played on his lips. Proper? Mississippi Ling, why don't you take a look at how you're dressed, then look at me? Do you really think you're worthy of me? As he spoke, he gave me a disdainful glance from the corner of his eye. I have no idea what my grandfather was thinking, arranging for me to marry a hick like you from the middle of nowhere. His words caused the onlookers to erupt. What? This girl is Mr. Pei's fiancée? That's the biggest joke I've ever heard. With her shabby look, she thinks she can marry into the Pei family? She should take a good look in the mirror. Mr. Pei is the #1 dreamboat in our city's supernatural community. I'm the first to object to this marriage. Listening to the surrounding gossip, I was a bit stunned. When did I ever say I wanted to marry him? And even if I did, it would be a question of whether the Pei family was even worthy. Fine, I'm the hick, you're the young master. Happy now? Since you look down on me, Mr. Pei, could you at least return the engagement token? My master specifically instructed me that if this marriage doesn't work out, I have to get the token back. It's a treasure from Een Mountain. In reality, my master had never mentioned this, I just couldn't stand his holier-than-thou attitude. As soon as I finished speaking, Paige immediately jumped in. You little bitch, who the hell do you think you're looking down on? My brother is the most powerful feng shui master in a century, and he's rich enough to buy a country. You think he cares about your piece of junk? Seeing her act like this, I finally understood the meaning of a bully riding on someone else's coattails. Mississippi Pei, I just want to retrieve what belongs to Een Mountain. What does that have to do with him being a tycoon? After hearing my words, Ethan's handsome face turned bright red. It's just some stupid trinket. Here, you can have it back. He ripped a jade pendant from his neck and tossed it at me. I'll give you $1 million. Consider the pendant payment for your travel expenses. I curved my lips into a slight smile. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Pei. Just as I turned to leave, Paige suddenly shouted at me. You little bitch, stop right there. I paused and slowly turned my head. What is it? Does Mississippi Pei want me to stay for a late-night snack? Paige gave me a sinister smile and whispered something in Ethan's ear. The next second, this so-called greatest feng shui master in the city in 100 years erupted in fury. Iris, how dare you try to steal the shadow wood that I had my eye on? From Paige's expression, I could guess that she had twisted the truth in front of Ethan. She was a master at using others to do her dirty work. Based on Ethan's attitude toward me just now, I knew any explanation would be a waste of breath, so I didn't even bother. Fine. What do you want? Ethan seemed surprised by my directness, a flicker of astonishment in his eyes. What do I want? Hand over the wood, and then kneel and apologize to my sister. I specifically sought out this piece of shadow wood for my grandfather to suppress his baleful aura. If even a single splinter is missing, I'll have your life as compensation. I raised an eyebrow, a faint smile on my lips. Mr. Pei, I reserved this wood first, and the Ghost Market's proprietor can prove it. As for apologizing to your sister, is she worthy? 10 million. The moment I finished speaking, Paige interjected again. My brother is offering 10 million for your rotten piece of wood. This is the luck of 8 lifetimes for you. Her words made the surrounding peanut gallery gasp. Even Ethan himself was a bit surprised by the price. Sis, although this is century-old shadow wood, its quality is average. It's not worth 10 million. Paige immediately waved her hand. No, brother, you're thinking too simply. This girl dared to talk back to you, which means she doesn't respect our Pei family. We must let her know who's the boss in this city. I'm doing her a favor by letting her hand over the wood. After hearing Paige's words, Ethan thought for a moment and found some truth in them, lowering his head in contemplation. Fine. 10 million it is. Hand it over. I didn't give them any time to react and refused on the spot. Not for sale. At that moment, everyone's eyes were on me. Some thought I was being ungrateful, others thought I was trying to jack up the price, and the majority were just enjoying the drama. But none of that mattered to me. What mattered was that I had to get what my master had instructed me to. If this were just an ordinary piece of wood, given Paige's arrogant behavior earlier, I would have let her have it long ago. Since Mr. Pei wants it so badly, why don't we discuss my terms? With that, I suddenly changed my tone, a slight smile unconsciously appearing on my lips. This wood is very important to me, but it's not like I can't part with it. The moment I finished, a wave of laughter erupted from the crowd. Paige and her cronies pointed at me with disdain. Has this woman lost her mind? She dares to negotiate terms with Mr. Pei? I can't believe it. Nowadays, someone from the sticks dares to try and blackmail the Pei family. That's just asking for death. My gaze swept over the crowd, and I spoke coldly. Everyone, my condition may be harsh, but for the Pei family, it's a lifeline. While it's still early, you should hurry back and ask your elders what the words, Een Mountain represent. What's all this about Een Mountain or Young Mountain? It's just some rundown hill. Why are you putting on such airs? Paige completely ignored my well-intentioned reminder. You little bitch, after all that talk, are you just trying to get out of it? Don't say I didn't warn you. If you don't hand over this piece of wood today, don't even think about leaving this city alive. In less than an hour, someone had dared to threaten me twice. This was something I wouldn't have even dreamed of since coming down from the mountain. I stopped wasting words and in front of everyone, pulled out an ebony token from my robes. The token was palm-sized, completely black, with an ancient character for Ling carved on it in crimson. I held the token up towards the Ghost Market's soul-guiding lantern, and spoke softly. Iris of Een Mountain requests an audience with the proprietor of the Ghost Market. As soon as I finished, the once noisy Ghost Market fell silent. All eyes were fixed on the token in my hand, filled with awe and fear. The flame of the soul-guiding lantern shot up 3 feet high, and an old, hoarse voice echoed in everyone's ears. Forgive me for not realizing a distinguished guest from Een Mountain had arrived. My sincerest apologies for the poor reception. An old man in a gray robe, hunched over and leaning on a cane, slowly emerged from the darkness. With every step he took, a glowing talisman lit up on the stone slabs beneath his feet. Paige still had no idea who she had offended and maintained her flippant attitude. Mountain, young mountain, whatever. Just a decrepit old man and a poor little girl, putting on a show. You're the proprietor, right? My brother wants this piece of wood. Name your price. The ghost market proprietor glanced at her with his cloudy eyes, his voice laced with ice. Young lady of the Pei family, do you have any idea who you have just insulted? The token of Mountain is here. To see the token is to see the mountain master himself. You have been disrespectful to Mississippi Ling, and even tried to rob her. According to the rules of the ghost market, what should your punishment be? Paige finally sensed that something was wrong, but she remained stubborn. I don't know anything about a token. I only know that in this city, the Pei family calls the shots. The proprietor let out a cold laugh and struck the ground hard with his cane. Insolence. With a crack, the blood jade bracelet on Paige's wrist shattered into dust. A plume of black energy erupted from her wrist. She screamed and collapsed to the ground. My hand hurt so much. Seeing this scene unfold, I couldn't help but almost laugh out loud. Mr. Pei, you've certainly raised a fine sister. She even dares to offend a distinguished guest from Mountain. I've never seen anyone so bold in the entire supernatural world. After hearing my words, Ethan's face turned ashen, but he was more shocked than anything. He stared intently at the token in my hand, his lips trembling, unable to speak. Just then, someone in the crowd shouted, "Everyone look over at the Pei family mansion." Hearing this, the crowd turned their heads. In the eastern part of the city, where the Pei mansion was located, a thick black aura shot up into the sky, coiling above the estate like a malevolent dragon, refusing to disperse. Seeing the scene before them, everyone present stared with wide eyes, unable to believe what they were seeing. As the current head of the Pei family, Ethan's face was deathly pale. That's the direction of the ancestral home. How could there be such a heavy, baleful aura? Brother, save me. Paige writhed on the ground in pain. Her wrist was already black, and the dark energy was spreading up her arm. The ghost market proprietor watched them coldly, without a shred of sympathy. The young lady of the Pei family offended a distinguished guest. The backlash from the blood jade is just a small lesson. Mr. Pei, the baleful aura engulfing your ancestral home and rally anger. I'm afraid a great catastrophe is imminent. As he spoke, everyone's gaze unanimously fell on me. Ethan stared at me blankly, an expression of disbelief on his face. I gave a cold smile and slowly walked over. Mr. Pei, it seems the feng shui in your city isn't all that great. The proprietor glanced at me without changing his expression, then bowed 90 degrees to me. Mississippi Ling, it is my failure to discipline properly that has disturbed you. I hope you can be magnanimous. Seeing this, Ethan could no longer care about his pride and rushed over to grab my arm. Mississippi Ling, do you know something? Please, I'm begging you, save my grandfather. Someone has tampered with the feng shui of your ancestral home, setting up a malevolent formation of the 100 Ghosts Night Parade. The resentment has built up over the years, and now that the baleful aura has erupted, your grandfather is likely the first to be hit. I pointed to the black aura above his family's estate. From the looks of it, your grandfather is probably already entangled by the baleful aura, and is on the brink of death. Ethan's body trembled violently, his face changing drastically. Mississippi Ling, can you, for the sake of the marriage contract between our families, save my grandfather's life? Marriage contract? Didn't you say I wasn't good enough for you and told me to go back where I came from? I chuckled and pried his hand off me. Now you're begging me? It's too late. After our exchange, cold sweat dripped down Ethan's face. Seeing her brother get put in his place, Paige, still on the ground, felt completely humiliated. Brother, why are you begging her? Our Pei family can solve this ourselves. We are the #1 feng shui family in this city. What kind of malevolent formation haven't we seen? Why would we need a hick from the mountains? The bank manager sighed softly, a troubled look on his face. Mississippi Pei, with your family's current level of skill, I'm afraid you really can't handle this. The moment he finished, the crowd erupted in an uproar. What? Am I hearing this right? Even the top feng shui family in the city can't do anything? To make the ghost market proprietor so respectful with just a single token, Not many in the entire supernatural world could command such status, right? It's over. The Pei siblings have really messed with the wrong person today. As the surrounding chatter grew louder, Ethan's face grew paler. Mississippi Ling, what do you want? As long as you're willing to help, I'll agree to any condition. Next, shouldn't we talk about my compensation? You little bitch, I just heard someone say that Een Mountain is just some fallen, insignificant place. How much could a rotten piece of wood be worth? Paige was still recklessly shouting. I smiled and shook my head. Mr. Pei, it seems your sister's knowledge is far too limited. This piece of shadow wood from my master is to be used to reconstruct my Grand Master's spiritual form. Can your Pei family afford to compensate for that? I did warn you before what the name Een Mountain represents. Unfortunately, you didn't believe me. Halfway through my sentence, I turned to look at Paige, who was still writhing on the ground. Mississippi Pei, you like to talk about rules, don't you? Why don't you ask around and find out what happens when you offend an emissary from Een Mountain? What? Did I hear that right? She's an emissary from Een Mountain. Someone in the crowd suddenly exclaimed. Een Mountain. Isn't that the legendary sacred place that governs the order between the worlds of the living and the dead? I've only seen it mentioned in the most ancient texts. No wonder the ghost market proprietor is so respectful to her. She's from a truly orthodox and powerful lineage in the supernatural world. Paige's eyes instantly dimmed, and she stammered, how can this be? I thought it was just a small, declining sect. I gave her a sidelong glance. Paige, are you regretting it now? Did you think that just because I dress simply, you could manipulate me and twist the truth as you pleased? Paige was rendered speechless by my retort, and could only turn to Ethan for help. Brother, for the sake of us growing up together, you have to save me. I watched the profusely sweating Ethan with a smile. Mr. Pei, I'd advise you not to waste your energy. Your ancestral home is about to become a ghost house. How are you going to save her? After hearing my words, Ethan's face darkened. Iris, don't push it too far. Don't forget, this is our city. Oh. Listening to Mr. Pei's tone, is that a threat? I pulled out my phone. How about I make a call for you? Then, in front of everyone present, I dialed a number my master had left me, the number for the Pei family patriarch. It only rang twice before the other party picked up immediately. Hello. Is that you, little Iris? Shouldn't you be with my good-for-nothing grandson right now? How do you have time to call an old man like me? I gave Ethan a meaningful look and spoke slowly. Mr. Pei, I just want to ask you one question right now. Does your Pei family feel that life has been too comfortable these past few years? Before the other party could figure out what was going on, I mimicked Paige's earlier arrogant tone. I'm giving you one stick of incense worth of time to get to the ghost market. Otherwise, I don't mind letting the top feng shui family in this city change its name. On the other end of the line, the Pei patriarch was silent for a moment, and then I heard the sound of a teacup shattering. Little Iris, please calm down. I'll be there right away. This exchange left everyone in the crowd completely dumbfounded. Damn, who the hell is this woman, daring to lecture the Pei family patriarch like that? This is his home turf. Even if she's a real dragon, she can't suppress the local powerhouse that is the Pei family. As the current representative of the Pei family, Ethan was furious. You with the surname Ling, I don't care who you are, our Pei family will not let you off the hook. I waved my hand at him dismissively. Mr. Pei, you've got it exactly backward. The question now is not whether your Pei family will let me off the hook, but whether I will let you off. The moment I finished speaking, Paige, as Ethan's number one sycophant, stood up, even though her face was contorted in pain. You little bitch, daring to be disrespectful to our Pei family. I'll take your life today. She struggled to stand, and the dozen or so bodyguards in black immediately moved forward, surrounding me. I noticed that these bodyguards all carried a heavy baleful aura. They were clearly men raised by the Pei family. All of you, stop. At the critical moment, an urgent and elderly voice came from the distance. An imposing old man in a traditional Tang suit, supported by a servant, ran up to me panting. Little Iris, I am so sorry, you must have been frightened. Seeing the scene before him, Mr. Pei Sr.'s face went white with fear. Little Iris, I'm not too late, am I? I glanced down at the stick of incense at the ghost market's entrance. It had just burned out. Grandpa Pei, you've arrived just in time. Your precious grandson was just about to lay hands on me. The Pei patriarch's response was swift and sincere. A sharp slap echoed, and 5 bright red finger marks instantly appeared on Ethan's handsome face. You scoundrel! Do you have any idea what you've done? Hurry up and apologize to Mississippi Ling. Ethan was clearly stunned by the slap, looking at his grandfather in complete confusion. Grandpa, are you getting senile? Why did you hit me? She was the one who was disrespectful to you and looked down on our family. Why are you helping an outsider punish me? Seeing this, the anger in my heart subsided a little. But it wasn't nearly enough. The Pei family still owed my sect an explanation. The Pei patriarch stared at his grandson with a furious expression and delivered another slap. You still have the nerve to ask me why? Mississippi Ling has her reasons for doing what she does. It's not your place to question her. He then turned to me with an apologetic smile before facing the crowd again. All the bodyguards who laid a hand on Mississippi Ling today will have their powers crippled and be expelled from the Pei family. I had to admit, the founder of the Pei family handled things much more shrewdly than his grandson. The patriarch's words were decisive, but Ethan's mind was a complete mess. He couldn't understand why his grandfather would get so angry over an outsider. Unfortunately, very few people knew the real reason why, and it just so happened that the Pei patriarch was one of them. Grandpa, this woman was clearly looking down on our family. My brother was just trying to save face. Why are you so angry? Paige, still on the ground, continued her suicidal tirade. Even if this woman has some connections, this is still our city. No matter what, we have to protect the Pei family's reputation. The onlookers murmured in agreement after hearing Paige's words. But the Pei patriarch made a decision that contradicted everyone's expectations. You must be Ethan's sister, Paige, right? I am now formally informing you that from this day forward, you are no longer a member of the Pei family. To outsiders, it might have seemed like the patriarch was old and couldn't grasp the situation. But I knew he was doing this to save the Pei family, making one last desperate effort. I found a good vantage point to watch and temporarily handed the stage over to him. And his performance did not disappoint. In front of everyone, he pointed at his grandson and cursed him out, completely disregarding his own image. Ethan, I now command you as the head of the Pei family to immediately, right now, kneel and apologize to Mississippi Ling. If you continue to be stubborn and cause trouble, I will disown you as my grandson. With that, he stood up straight before me. The patriarch's words were the last straw for everyone. Torn between his family's reputation and his own grandfather, Ethan fell silent. Just as the atmosphere fell quiet, I slowly stepped forward. An apology won't be necessary. My connection with your Pei family has pretty much run its course. Mr. Pei Sr. broke out in a cold sweat. Little Iris, why don't you name your price? I tugged at the corner of my mouth in a playful smile. What does Grandpa Pei mean by name my price? Are you planning to solve this with money? To be honest, I've met my fair share of tough characters over the years, but I've never seen a young master as arrogant as your grandson. If it were an ordinary person here today, would Mr. Pei even have to show up? Would one phone call be enough to ruin their life? The Pei patriarch trembled, not daring to meet my gaze. Little Iris, what happened today was indeed our family's fault. I am willing to offer compensation. As long as you're willing to name a price, I won't haggle. I'll keep my word. Ethan had never seen his grandfather so humble. To save face in front of the crowd, he cut in. Grandpa, our Pei family is the top family in this city. How can you bow down to someone so easily? I looked up to meet his gaze, my tone playful. So Mr. Pei still believes your family can do whatever it wants in this city. Is that right? Although I've had little contact with the outside world these years, I've met plenty of powerful figures in the supernatural community. And whether in terms of wealth or power, the Pei family didn't even rank among the people I knew. You Ling, let me tell you, I'm not as easily fooled as my grandfather. If you really have any skills, then show them. I glanced down at the sky and let out a cold laugh. Mr. Pei, confidence is a good thing, but blind confidence is your mistake. The Pei family you constantly boast about and take pride in my eyes, is nothing special. As soon as I said this, the Pei patriarch's expression immediately changed. He was about to speak, but I quickly raised my hand to stop him. Grandpa Pei, you should have heard what your grandson just said, right? If I don't respond today, people will think that anyone from Een Mountain is easy to bully. Just as I finished speaking, Ethan's phone rang. He stole a glance at me, hesitated for a few seconds, but finally answered. What did you say? Say that again. Ethan stared at me with wide, disbelieving eyes. What? The ancestral home's feng shui array is broken? All the suppressive artifacts have failed? And it was broken by an extremely powerful force of Een Mountain energy? After confirming with the butler several times, Ethan was completely stunned. Yuling, don't tell me you did all this? Ethan's expression told me that even after hearing the news about his ancestral home with his own ears, he still refused to believe in my abilities. However, this time I didn't even need to speak. The Pei patriarch, who had been holding back for a long time, finally couldn't take it anymore and roared, Ethan, how could I have such a fool for a grandson? Aren't you satisfied with the trouble you've caused? Do you have to drag the entire Pei family down with you before you'll stop? The Pei patriarch slapped his own thigh, looking utterly disappointed. Ethan, do you still not understand why I arranged this marriage? I can turn a blind eye to your usual antics, but today of all people, you had to offend Mississippi Ling. The patriarch became more and more agitated as he spoke, eventually stomping his feet in anger. It wasn't that I was being arrogant, his words were not an exaggeration in the slightest. What's more, Ethan's sister had tried to steal the material from my Grand Master's spiritual form. After the patriarch's heartfelt persuasion, Ethan finally came to his senses. Grandpa, you mean this woman's background is so powerful that even our Pei family can't afford to offend her? At this moment, the way everyone in the crowd looked at me changed dramatically, filled with fear. Especially Paige, who was hiding in the crowd, trembling and not daring to meet my gaze. Mr. Pei, you should be glad you didn't do anything more outrageous to me earlier. Otherwise, it wouldn't just be the feng shui array being broken right now. Ethan's face was tear-streaked, his voice choked. Mississippi Ling, I truly know I was wrong. It was my fault for being blind and underestimating your power. How about this? The marriage is on. We'll hold the ceremony tomorrow. I curved my lips into a knowing smile and glanced at him. Mr. Pei, it's too late for that now. You already threw the engagement token back at me. There's no taking it back, is there? My words were like a bolt from the blue. Ethan lowered his head in silence. Seeing the Pei family's current predicament, the patriarch, as the founder, could only sigh silently on the side. The scene was eerily quiet, everyone curious as to how I would handle the Pei family. After a long moment, I turned to the dejected patriarch and sighed softly. Grandpa Pei, for my master's sake, I can consider letting your family off the hook. But I have one condition. Hearing my words, the patriarch's eyes suddenly lit up. Little Iris, tell me what condition. As long as I can save the Pei family, I'll do anything you ask. I raised my hand and pointed at the tear-stained Ethan, a mysterious smile on my face. I wonder if Grandpa Pei has ever heard the saying, let he who tied the bell untie it. The moment I finished, Ethan's expression immediately changed. Yuling, what do you mean by that? Don't tell me you want my grandfather to disown me and kick me out of the family? I spread my hands, looking at him with a half-smile. Mr. Pei, weren't you just begging me to spare your family? Now that I've offered a solution, you're not happy about it. It's so hard to be a good person. Halfway through, I pointed to the piece of shadow wood not far away. My Grand Master's spiritual form is still missing a piece of material. Someone has to be responsible, right? Given Paige's current status, she probably isn't qualified to take the fall. But you're just right. I said that last sentence for the patriarch's benefit. While stating my position, I was also leaving a way out for the Pei family. After all, the whole mess was the fault of Ethan and his sister. It had nothing to do with anyone else. The patriarch hesitated for a moment, then nodded firmly at me. Little Iris, will do as you say. I will announce it to the entire supernatural community, as the head of the Pei family. And I will publicly announce that I am severing my grandfather-grandson relationship with Ethan. Ethan still wanted to put up a final struggle, but no matter what he said now, it was futile. He had caused this disaster, and only he could end it. And as the instigator of the entire incident, Paige had her powers crippled on the spot, was expelled from the Pei family, and sent out of the city overnight. Just for her past insults to Een Mountain. She would likely never set foot in the supernatural world again for the rest of her life. After tonight, the Pei family's reputation would plummet. I had just shown a token and said a few words, and a feng shui family that had dominated the city for 100 years was utterly disgraced overnight. It was as if their glorious past had never existed. After handling everything, I called my master and specifically told him to introduce me to more reliable prospects next time. With that, my trip to the city should have come to an end. When I picked up the shadow wood and turned to leave this place of trouble. "Little Iris, please wait." Mr. Pei Sr. called out to me again. He walked towards me, leaning on his cane, his body trembling, his eyes full of pleading. "I know my two good-for-nothing descendants have offended you today, but the foundation of the Pei family, it really can't be broken." His voice was hoarse, tinged with a hint of despair. "Our family's 7-star life-extending lanterns have already gone out, 6 of them. Only the last one remains. If this last one also goes out, the Pei family's century-old legacy, and the lives of over 100 people, will all be gone." I frowned slightly. 7-star life-extending lanterns? Your family actually possesses such a heaven-defying artifact? This was not a magical item that an ordinary feng shui family could possess. It was left by our ancestors, Mr. Pei Sr. sighed, and it is also a debt owed by our ancestors. Only then did I realize that things were not as simple as I thought. You said earlier that the Pei family's estate was filled with a baleful aura, 100 ghosts night parade formation. Actually, that's not a formation. Those are the enemies our Pei family has made over the past 100 years. A thought stirred in my mind, and I remembered my master's meaningful words before I left. This trip to the city is to settle a karmic debt. So this was the karmic debt. Grandpa Pei, do you know why my sect arranged a marriage contract with your family? I asked him, word by word. The patriarch's body jolted, and a sharp light burst from his cloudy eyes. Could it be you know the solution? He stared at me intently, as if grasping at his last straw of hope. The solution lies within this marriage contract. The lineage of Een Mountain never interferes in worldly karma. But this marriage contract was something your ancestor begged for from my Een Mountain 100 years ago, using half of his family's fortune and an engagement token in exchange for a chance at life. And I am that chance. Ethan stood on the side, listening to our conversation, completely stunned. The family he was so proud of, the marriage contract he looked down upon, held such a earth-shattering secret. He had always thought it was just a political marriage arranged by his grandfather to win over a declining mountain sect. He never imagined it was the only hope for his entire family's survival. His face turned shades of green and white, finally settling on a deep red, utterly consumed by shame. When I looked at Ethan's expression, my heart completely calm. You want me to help? Fine. But my rules are different from your Pei family's rules. I turned to Ethan, my eyes cold. From this day forward, you, Ethan Pei, are no longer the high and mighty young master of the Pei family. You are my disciple. If you want to learn, you will start from the beginning. You will learn what reverence is and what rules are. My words made everyone present gasp. To have the top feng shui master in the city, the heir to the Pei family, become the disciple of a girl in her early 20s? This was an incredible humiliation. Ethan clenched his fists so tightly that his nails dug into his flesh, but he said nothing. Mr. Pei Sr., however, didn't hesitate. He kicked the back of Ethan's knees. You scoundrel, hurry up and serve your master tea. Ethan fell to his knees with a thud, the hard stone slabs making a dull sound. He looked up, his once arrogant and untamable eyes now filled with nothing but humiliation and struggle. Finally, he lowered his proud head and called out in a hoarse voice, Mas, Tir. I accepted his bow without flinching. This is just the beginning. I placed the piece of shadow wood on a stone table, and took out the deliverance carving knife my master had given me. The blade was pitch black, only 3 fingers wide, covered in fine, blood-red patterns that seemed to flow as if alive. The moment the knife was unsheathed, a solemn and compassionate aura instantly enveloped the entire ghost market. Your Pei family owes too many debts. This piece of shadow wood was originally meant to reconstruct my Grand Master's spiritual form. Now it will first be used to carve a rebirth tablet for the souls who died unjustly at the hands of your family. This would consume my own spiritual power and effort. I was doing this both to obey my master's command and to show the Pei family just how significant the chance at life they had begged for truly was. For the next 7 days and nights, I locked myself in the Pei family's ancestral hall and did not take a single step out. Inside the hall, with deliverance as my pen and the shadow wood as my paper, I carved the sutra for rebirth, one stroke at a time. Each cut of the knife stirred up gusts of cold wind and ghostly wails within the hall. The resentful souls that had been suppressed by the Pei family for 100 years since the hope of rebirth, and all gathered around. Ethan knelt outside the ancestral hall, without food or drink, for 7 days and nights. Through the crack in the door, he watched as I was enveloped by dark energy, my face growing paler each day, my lips losing their color. His expression changed from initial humiliation to shock, then to awe, and finally, to a complex emotion he couldn't quite name. He witnessed firsthand how the vicious spirits, which were so fierce that even his grandfather was helpless against them, became as docile as lambs before me, quietly waiting to be delivered. He finally understood that the gap between us was not one of status or wealth, but the difference between heaven and earth, clouds and mud. On the 7th day, as I carved the final stroke on the tablet, the deliverance knife let out a clear, dragon-like cry. The entire shadow wood tablet glowed with a brilliant golden light, purifying all the dark energy and resentment within the ancestral hall. The black aura that had been looming over the Pei family's ancestral home also vanished with it. I pushed open the doors of the ancestral hall, and the sunlight outside stung my eyes. Master. Seeing me, Ethan, who was kneeling on the ground, struggled to stand up, but his legs gave way from kneeling for so long, and he fell back down. I didn't help him up. The tablet is complete. Offer 3 sticks of incense every morning and evening, and chant the sutras for 49 days. This will ensure your family's peace for 100 years. As for what happens after 100 years, that will depend on your own fortunes. After saying that, I prepared to leave. The karmic ties in this city were finally settled. One master, please wait. Ethan finally managed to stand up and limped over to me. He was holding a cup of hot tea, which he offered to me respectfully. Master, please have some tea. I glanced at him. The arrogance and contempt were gone from his face, replaced by an almost devout reverence. I am no longer your master, I said lightly. A teacher for a day is a father for life, he insisted, holding the teacup steady. You saved the entire Pei family. You are our savior. Ethan dares to ask to continue following you and cultivating. I looked at him and suddenly found it amusing. The great young Master Pei, who had once called me provincial and poor and told me to get lost, was now shamelessly trying to follow me. How the tables have turned. Just then, Mr. Pei Sr. also hurried over. Little Iris, oh no, Masterling. Our Pei family can never repay your kindness. About the marriage contract. I waved my hand, cutting him off. There is no need to mention the marriage contract again. The disciples of Ethan Mountain do not concern themselves with worldly romance. I took the tea from Ethan's hands and took a sip. It was a way of accepting his sincerity. Ethan, if you truly wish to cultivate, then start by managing this city. Keep the supernatural community in line and treat all living beings with kindness. Consider it a way for your Pei family to accumulate good karma. With that, I placed the teacup back in his hand and turned to leave without looking back. Behind me, Ethan stood for a long time, holding the teacup I had used. The wind of the city blew against the hem of my simple clothes. My master said that coming down from the mountain was to settle a karmic debt. Now that the debt is settled, it's time for me to return to my Ethan Mountain. As for the young master of the Pei family, his future path is one he must walk alone. The end.